Hey, y'all, this is Dan Wallace, and you're listening to Hank Jr. on Hank's Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hank's Corner. I am Hank Jr. You know, I'm part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm documenting those life moments through photography, videography, and now podcasting. And if you caught my last two episodes, you know that we had two artists that are going to be at the Freedom Jam in Missouri. This coming month, May 20th. We had headliner Morgan Miles as well as Katie O, who's a Florida native. And, this time on my podcast, I'm going to bring somebody that's going to be on a later show of the Freedom Jam. Please welcome to the podcast, Dan Wallace. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great as well now that I get to have you on, because I talked to you briefly on the phone, and then I also heard your music, and that voice, I love the voice, so I'm glad to have you here today. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man. I'm excited.
And well, I appreciate that as well. And everybody knows that that follows me, that my little Hank's Corner is located somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. Where are you calling in from tonight?
I'm actually in Marysville, Ohio. I'm just a little bit west of Columbus. So
Okay.
I actually grew up in Columbus, and I've lived in Marysville for probably the last, I'd say, about 18 years or so.
Okay. Yeah. So you are a native of Ohio then.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I heard I heard they have a university out there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm a Buckeye through and through, brother.
Yeah, I say a university. You guys say the university, so it's a little bit different from being a native there.
Yeah.
So,
the Ohio State University, man.
That's correct. So, are you a huge football fan then?
Oh yeah, football's next to music. I think football's been a big part of my life. I played, different levels, and I also coached at different levels, and I actually still currently help high school football recruits get recruited to college. So it's a big part of my life.
Okay, very interesting. And what did you play when you were playing football?
I was a linebacker.
Oh, okay. So you dealt out the pain.
I did, yeah.
I love that. When I played, I was too thin, so I either played quarterback or cornerback, and so I was usually being the one that was getting hit as the quarterback. But man, what it would have been like to be a linebacker and just knock people around.
Yeah, it's a blast, man. I got a little guy. Well, he's not so little anymore. He's going to be a sophomore in high school, and kind of following that same path. He's playing linebacker and running back, so I'm pretty excited about that too.
Okay. Now I've been to Ohio a couple of times, not very long, a little quick little work trip and a quick little missionary trip while I was up there. But as far as your area, what's going on in your area? Should I make it up that way? What's up there?
Believe it or not, the music scene's pretty good up here, man. A lot of people don't realize like the Midwest is really where it's at musically. Especially as a musician, as far as gigs and good paying gigs, and a lot of really great musicians up this way. So, if you was ever to come up around Columbus, Marysville area, we have a lot of great music venues that, every weekend they're hopping, man. And, you definitely want to check out the local music scene here in Central Ohio.
Oh, I definitely love to do that. And, I used to live up north back in the day. Even though I'm a Texan, I lived up north for about 10 years up in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. And I had my share of cold. So if I do come visit, I'll probably come visit during the summertime.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
And I don't mind a little bit of cold, but Ohio is freezing.
I'll come visit you around November, December.
Oh, let's do it. We could do a little, switching, from what they call, I guess, snowbirds down here. We'll do a little show down here, and then I'll follow you up there for the summertime.
That'd be great, man.
And speaking about your music, you recently have an album out called I-65, where you got a couple of, different songs that are out there. I'm enjoying it. And, one of the songs that I gravitate, which I'm sure you hear about all the time, is Nights Like These. Tell me a little bit about that song.
It just, one that I wrote that's kind of a nostalgic kind of song. I think, takes you back to, your high school days of cruising the back roads, and Friday nights and football, and just that whole. And it's not even just about that. I think it relates to a whole lot of different people and life in general. Because cruising the back roads on a Friday night or a weekend is something that you do your whole life. You know what I mean? And even people, once you reach older ages, you like to take a cruise and just kind of go cruising on the back roads, and that's just kind of one of those songs that and that believe it or not, that's probably one of the number one songs I get a lot of feedback on. A lot of people love that tune, and I'm grateful for it, man. I love that song too. So it's not my favorite personally, but I love that song.
That's interesting to hear that, because most artists I talk to, they never really say if it's their favorite or not. They usually say they're all my babies, and
yeah.
But that's great to hear your honesty. But the song does remind me of, you talk about doing the back roads, and when I got married, man, this month of May that I'm recording this podcast is 24 years. But 24 years ago, when we took our honeymoon and we drove from the Philly area up to New York, we're going to go out in the mountains area and spend some time out there. I'm driving around with my T-tops down in May. It's nice weather, and my wife falls asleep in the car. Next thing I know, when she wakes up, of course, this is before GPS. Most people don't know what it's like to drive without GPS. And she wakes up and she's like, "You're like 10 exits away from where we should have been," because I was just enjoying the cruise and driving along. And so, I can see how that, definitely plays into a lot of people. But I'm definitely liking it, and I want to go ahead and play nights like these here on Hake's Corner.
Sounds great, man. I appreciate it.
I just paid the tab, and the night's still young. That look in your eyes makes me come undone. You got your feet on the dash, just singing along. With the windows down, laid back on me, I'm right where I belong. Back road Friday nights, tearing down the road. With you right by my side, ain't never letting go. Moonlight shining bright, faces in the breeze. Everything feels just right. Yeah, on nights like these, on nights like these. We pull off in the field, lay a blanket in the bed. We can talk all night, nothing has to be said. Girl, it's your move, time is standing still. Whatever you want, baby, I don't care. If you want me to, I will. Back road Friday nights, tearing down the road. With you right by my side, ain't never letting go. Moonlight shining bright, faces in the breeze. Everything feels just right. Yeah, on nights like these. Oh, nights like these. Baby, I'm all yours, and you're all mine. Right here, right now. Let's take our time. Back road Friday nights, tearing down the road. With you right by my side, ain't never letting go. Moonlight shining bright, faces in the breeze. Everything feels just right. Yeah, on nights like these. Oh, nights like these. Oh, on nights like these.
welcome back to Hank's Corner. You just heard Nights Like These by Dan Wallace. And, Dan was introduced to me by Brian Judy. All those who have followed me know that, I support Brian Judy and Freedom Jam and what that supports. And, we're going to get to see you out there at the Freedom Jam in the fall on September 30th outside of the St. Louis area. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But let's back up a little bit. You talked about football as in your younger years, but when did you actually start getting into music, and how did you get started playing?
I actually, I've always sang as a little kid. I had a deep love for singing and country music. Most of my family's from Southern West Virginia. And so, when you start talking about Appalachian and, all that, bluegrass and country, traditional country music, that's where that love came from. And, being with my grandparents and a lot, in the summer times and hearing all that old school country. But I actually didn't pick up guitar till after high school. I graduated high school and decided I was going to use my graduation money and buy me an acoustic guitar. And I bought a book with it that showed you, the dots, where to put your fingers to make certain chords. And I spent hours in my room and taught myself to play guitar. And then from there, I wrote my first song, which was interesting, but to say the least. But it was right after high school, man, when I got really fell in love with playing guitar and taught myself and started writing, and I never looked back from there. So.
And that's something else that most people don't understand, learning to play guitar from a book. Nowadays, you just go on YouTube and you pop it on and that's how you learn. But, back when, I was younger, you were younger, that's how we had to do it. You had to pull out a book and just, hope that you were doing it right.
That's right. And printing off pages of tablature and, yeah, those were, it was definitely different back then.
Oh, definitely. And, one of the things I'm always curious about it when I like voices, I mean, obviously, female voices are a little different. They don't really change too much through the years, but obviously the guys' voices do. When did you start getting the voice that you had?
Oh, man. You know what? I mean, really, my senior year of high school hasn't changed much. I had, a pretty deep voice, after right there toward the end of high school. And, yeah, never really changed. So I would say high school.
Okay. And did you have to do any vocal lessons or anything like that to help that along? It's just kind of natural.
It's kind of natural, man. Pound of paper, playing gigs, and learning the hard way, putting in the time. So,
all right. And that's cool to hear. And I asked that to one of the artists before, he also had a deep voice and, kind of raspy. And I asked him about his voice and, we kind of joked a little bit offline, but he really attributed to, alcohol and cigarettes that got his voice so low. So, for kids at home, it's not the best thing to do to go out there and try to make your voice with alcohol and cigarettes, but sometimes that's just what happens in life. But
right.
Now you mentioned something about your first song and you kind of laughed about. Tell me a little bit about the first song and then go on and tell me, how do you come up with your ideas to write?
So the first song, it was a little love song that I wrote, just something that popped in my head. It's pretty rough. I'm sure I could probably go back and finish it, but it was just a simple little melody, something that I came up with and put some words to. I think even the verses weren't really that long, but still, writing a song is not an easy thing to do. And then, kind of learning that myself, my process is a little different than most. I think all of my songs that you hear on that EP, I actually wrote while I was at work. So, lyrics come to me and I get a melody in my head and I put everything down on paper first, lyrically to the melody that I'm hearing. And then by the time I get home to my guitar, I'm able to put that to it. So it's kind of a different process. Some people got to play, guitar parts and have a melody first and then write lyrics. I'm complete opposite. Everything's up here and, then I put it all down on paper. So, kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah, and it's also refreshing to hear because a lot of times when I interview people and I say, "Tell me about your first song," it's usually not a love song. Usually, it's because she's pissed at a boy for doing something wrong, and then that's what they write about. You know, the whole
Right,
Taylor Swift thing, and it seems to be common. So it is very
oh,
refreshing to hear that you started out with a love song.
right. Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but yeah, that's what I listened to a lot of Keith Whitley, so that's where
Oh,
it came from.
okay, yeah, definitely Keith Whitley's, one of my favorites of all time from, back in the day.
Oh
But
yeah,
you have a song called Shelter, and tell me a little bit about that. And if you don't mind, I'd like for you to play that here on Hank's Corner.
yeah, absolutely, man. Shelter is probably my number 2 favorite song on this album. So I wrote it actually for my wife. It's a song that tells the story basically of my wife and I and what we've been through. And, we've got a daughter that had a lot of medical issues when she was born. Um, we got a lot thrown at us at a young age, being a young couple and young married couple, and went through a lot of trials and tribulations. And it's just a story about, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Couples go through storms. It takes work, and it's about how you come out on the other end. And we've came back out on top every time. So that's kind of what this story is about.
All right.
Staring out the window, the rain pouring down. I can't help but think of sweet things I found. Wrapped up with you right now, it's easy to see. There's no other place I'd rather be. Yeah, the lightning is flashing and the thunder's crashing away. You press your lips to mine and move a little closer to me. You got me under your spell, girl, you knock me down on my knees. Come hell or high water, you're the one I turn to. I got everything I need in the shelter with you. Many years later, several storms have come through. They only made us stronger, draws me closer to you. Been blessed by the grace of God, He's opened our eyes. The dark, stormy days were just blessings in disguise. Yeah, the lightning is flashing and the thunder's crashing away. You press your lips to mine and move a little closer to me. You got me under your spell, girl, you knock me down on my knees. Come hell or high water, turn to. I got everything I need in the shelter with you.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr., and you just heard the captivating voice of Dan Wallace singing Shelter. And if you want to hear more of that, you can check him out on social media. I know he just posted a bunch of dates that he's got up there in Ohio. But of course, if you can come out to the St. Louis area September 30th and see us at Freedom Jam, we would love that. And, that song Shelter, it has me thinking, about the Bible and some of the verses that it talks about the Lord being the shelter. And I bring that up because I see your social media and I see that you talk about your faith on there. How important is your faith, and how does it kind of direct you in your life and in your music?
My faith is everything, man. I put God first in everything, and I teach my kids the same thing. We raise them the same way. I just, I'm a big believer, and I'm a believer in trying to use my musical platform, if I can, to lead other people to God. And I've lost followers because of it, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, I'm very outspoken about that, and I'll always stick to my guns on that.
And that's good, and I'm glad that you're doing that. And I've had artists on here that are Christians, but they don't necessarily promote it out there. And that was going to be one of my questions was, how much flack do you get back, pushback of being it? So you do have experience some then.
Yeah, I mean, not so much. I mean, people aren't really outspoken about it. Just you lose some followers because of it, like I said, and that's okay. Nobody's really been outspoken toward me about it,
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd be outspoken right back about it. But and that's okay, man. Some people, just takes longer to get the message across, and but at the end of the day, that's just who I am and what I believe, and I want people to know what my faith is and where I stand on that.
Okay. And do you ever put out like any Christian covers, or maybe you do them on stage, or, when it comes to Christian or gospel music, do you do any of that?
I haven't put anything out. Now I do play, some gospel covers, but it's more on the bluegrass end. Jamie Johnson has a song that I love, and guys like, man, Keith Whitley. I mean, you look back at their history, it wasn't always just the country music realm. They started in bluegrass, you know, you know, guys like him, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the gospel stuff that I play, but nothing that I've recorded and put out. But I definitely would probably consider that, in the future for sure.
Yeah, and it's great that you talk about like the bluegrass roots, and because we don't really get to hear too much of bluegrass in the mainstream. And when people come out and talk about it on the podcast, or they're putting it in their music, and they may have some other stuff, but it gives the people an opportunity to see that there's a great art out there that's just not tapped into from the mainstream.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's getting there though. I mean, you got guys like Billy Strings, who's really blowing up, and guys that are infusing that sound. Tyler Childers, big bluegrass guy. So it's coming. It's coming along. I think they're starting to get that a little more popular. But man, you want to talk about some of the best musicians in the world, man. You look into the bluegrass world. There's no better pickers that
Oh yeah.
with. But yeah, I love bluegrass, man. I grew up on it.
Yeah, I'll second that. As far as the way the musicians are so talented in bluegrass, it's just amazing. It blows my mind. But you mentioned Keith Whitley. Who else were your influences growing up and to this day?
Yeah, man, Keith was a big one for me, which is really cool because at Freedom Jam, well, I don't know. I'm gonna keep that to myself. I don't know if we're allowed to say that yet. I'm gonna keep that to myself. But Keith is a really big one. George Jones is a huge influence on my music. Another one, is Jamie Johnson. Jamie Johnson's been huge on my music and what I do and my sound, and kind of molded myself around that same kind of style, I think. So those are probably the three biggest for me.
Okay, and I definitely like those names, and it's always great to hear some of the greats from the past. And what I found interesting too, as far as we talk about the mainstream and what's there and what's not, I'm starting to hear more and more. I mean, we just had KDO on the show, like I said, she played Freedom Jam, and so she talked about a lot of these old stuff too, and she's barely even like 17 years old, and I love it. I love that the younger generation is getting into some of these old names, and that's awesome. But let's talk a little bit about your album I-65. How was it, putting that together? Was this something that you really felt like, hey, I needed to put an album together, or was it just how did that come about?
Man, I knew I had some really great songs I wanted to get out there and get heard, and things just kind of fell in place with a buddy of mine down in Nashville. Buddy of mine now, he's he is the top session guitar player. I don't care what anybody says, but a guy named Rob McNelly down there in Nashville. He plays on everybody's records, everything you hear on the radio. That guy's all over, but he produced my album along with Justin Francis, and I played with musicians that are ACM of the Year musicians, and we went to Nashville and did it right. And I'll tell you what, Rob McNelly and Justin Francis really hit a home run, man. They made everything sound amazing, exactly the way that I envisioned it. And it still came out sounding like me. It wasn't something that was overproduced. So yeah, man, that's how that kind of came about, and built a great friendship and relationship with Rob. And, we still talk to this day, and I'll be recording with him some more in the future.
All right. Well, it sounds like you got a great team going there, and why try to fix something that's not broken. So keep that going. But let's go ahead and play the title track off that I-65.
Flashing lights and neon signs are calling my name. Roughneck bars and honky tonks draw me like a moth to the flame. Just me and my old guitar playing songs, setting fire to this stage. Doing double shots of whiskey, I got the crowd singing with me. I'm pretty sure I ain't done it this way. I'm just a singer of songs of the life that I live. I have fans and haters just the same. I guess it is what it is. I've been climbing that mountain, let me tell you, it's been a long, hard ride. I'm still chasing that neon dream, cruising down I-65. Everybody keeps saying go to Nashville and shoot for the stars. I've been shot down a few times, just another guy strumming on a guitar. But I have something to say, so listen up, 'cause this much I know. the songs that I'm around till I hear 'em on the radio. I'm just a singer of songs of the life that I live. I have fans and haters just the same. Guess it is what it is. I've been climbing that mountain, let me tell you, it's been a long, hard ride. I'm still chasing that neon dream, cruising down I-65. I'm still chasing that neon dream, cruising down I-65.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. Once again, I'm Hank Jr. here with Dan Wallace, and that was the title track off his album I-65, which is his favorite song. We talked a little bit about it off the air, and it definitely fuels the fire, is how he put it. But I'm loving your music, and it's great to have you on here. Let's talk a little bit about stuff that's maybe not necessarily always music related. Now, I know that you're busy because obviously you alluded to the fact that you have a job, and then you got music. But when you do get some spare time, what are you doing for fun?
What am I doing for fun? Well, obviously my kids' sports, but hobby wise, I'm a big fisherman, man.
Mm.
I'm out fishing. I'm out on a riverbank somewhere, out on the lake, and that's my favorite pastime is to be out fishing and anything outdoors. I'm a hunter, so fishing and hunting, I would say probably my top two.
Okay, so based upon that, I assume that you eat what you catch.
Absolutely. My
What?
kids
What?
got a clean fish.
Oh, okay, all right. And what is the favorite thing that you like to cook?
Oh man, just in general or fish wise?
Either or.
I've been known to throw down a mean lasagna, man.
Mm.
That's one thing my family loves that I make, and yeah, I would have to say lasagna for sure.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely go for that. And when I was up there, up in Ohio, I know, and I don't know if it was Columbus. I can't remember exactly where I was at the time, but they had a real famous German restaurant up there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or
Yeah, it's called Schmitz.
okay, yes, yes. So I've been there. Have you been there?
I have, man. It's really, really good. Very
Okay.
good.
Okay, because I always have to talk about food on my podcast. Sometimes it gets me in trouble because I am a foodie, but that is one thing I do remember about Ohio was when I went there and having some of that German food that was really good.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a great place, man. We've got a lot of really good restaurants, for sure.
Yeah, well, I definitely got to make it out that way, and I also want to get to the Hall of Fame and that sort of thing. And but of course, now you are on my playlist. Tell me who is currently on your playlist.
Oh man, anybody that gets in the truck with me, they'll see that they'll start hearing a lot of Jamie Johnson, Cody Jinks. I'm really into Cody Johnson's music. I like what Cody's doing out there. Ward Davis. I got a buddy of mine I'm playing a show with in August named Addison Johnson. If you don't know who he is, you definitely go check him out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think guys around, like I said, Tyler Childers. I don't listen to a lot of the new stuff, man. To be honest with you.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have our interest in what we listen to, and that's what makes this country in general, but people in general so great is that we are so diverse, and we can embrace that diversity. But I assume that you want to get out there and travel and tour and that sort of thing. Given the opportunity, I mean, obviously the Grand Ole Opry is the big thing, but given the opportunity, where would you like your music to take you, and on what stage?
Oh man, there's a lot of great venues that I'd love to play. I mean, but I think Billy Bob's in Texas would be a huge one. I'd love to get down there. I played the Nashville scene. The Ryman Auditorium would be probably the granddaddy of them all for me, which is the original Grand Ole Opry. But man, I don't think there's really one in particular. I just, we just really want to pound pavement and get out there and play a lot of these great venues and get our music heard in front of all these people.
Okay. And then given the opportunity, whether living or not, if you could be on stage with one or, a couple different artists, who would you like to be on stage with?
Oh man, Jamie Johnson, 100%. I'd say obviously Keith. Those are my top two.
Okay. Well, if you can get on with Jamie Johnson, then, put in a good word for me to get him on my podcast. I could use that.
Right.
All right.
He's just somehow, some way. I'd love to play on stage with that guy, man.
I hear you. There's a lot of people I'd like to get onto the podcast as well. But, so we already alluded many times that you're going to be out there in Freedom Jam up in St. Louis, September 30th. But what else is remaining for the rest of the year for you? What plans do you have?
We got a big summer coming up, man. We're, we got June 9th. I'm opening for Colt Ford down in Indiana, Brookville, Indiana. We're playing the Logan County Fair here in Ohio, where we're going to be opening for Chase McDaniel and Tiger Lily. I'm opening, I think in August, opening for Chase Matthew, and there's another major artist they're talking to right now in contract. Can't really talk about it, but that's August 12th and 13th, and that's in New London, Ohio. We got September 2nd is really exciting, playing at Country Legends Festival in West Ohio. And I get to jam with, I'm opening for, it's Shenandoah, Sarah Evans, Lone Star, and Trace Atkins. And then as far as I know, I think Taylor Austin Dye is coming up for that. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Levi Foster, but he's blowing up pretty big on social media right now. And Levi's coming up. So we're going to have a heck of a time at that show.
Yeah, that's definitely a great show. If you can get out there to see that, I would definitely recommend it. I kind of wish that I could be there to do that, and all those great names. And then of course you're going to be out there playing. It's gonna be awesome. But if somebody were to come to your show, what should they expect from a Dan Wallace show?
Oh, it's hit you in the mouth, high energy. We like to rock it up. We like to mix it. A lot of my influences this is not just country music. I got a lot of rock influence. So, a few of the guys in my band are rockers at heart, and sometimes I got to let the dog off the leash. So, we like to incorporate that in our shows where, when I'm introduced to the band, or we'll do a medley for, a good solid 7 or 8 minutes of just hard, hit you in the mouth rock, and rock the stage up and kind of set the stage. So, definitely high energy.
All right. And so if you go out there to go see Dan Wallace playing, bring your mouth guard, because he's going to hit you in the mouth with all that good music. And, if you want to see where he's playing, like I said, you can follow him on all social media. You can follow him at, Dan Wallace Music, as well as his website, dwcountry.com. It's listed down here below. And, Dan, I definitely appreciate you coming out. I'm looking so forward to getting to see you in person out there at Freedom Jam. Anytime you ever want to be a guest on Hank's Corner, you're more than welcome to do so.
Brother, I appreciate it, man. I've had a great time, and likewise, I can't wait to meet you and hang out with you.
I just punched out on that old clock, tearing down the road to some southern rock, with the windows down and the wind blowing through my hair. As I was singing along with that Skinner tune, saw a sign that said Billy D Saloon, so I dropped in just to see what it was all about. There were roughnecks and hillbillies too, jukebox cranking out a Hagen tune. It was my kind of place, and I was ready to throw down. I got tore up, I didn't know my name. Jack, Jim, and Bullet, yeah, they're to blame. They're my 3 best friends. Man, I messed up. I got too much blood in my alcohol system. little cutie came up to me, put her head on my shoulder and her hand on my knee, and said, let's leave right now and take this party out to the truck. So I finished the whiskey sitting in my hand, and I fell down when I went to stand, and I thought to myself, oh man, this is just my luck. I picked myself up off the floor, told the bartender to pour me one more, and I threw it back, started all over again. There were roughnecks and hillbillies too, jukebox was cranking out a Haggard tune. It was my kind of place and I was ready to throw down. I got tore up, I didn't know my name. Jack, Jim, and Bullet, yeah, they're to blame. They're my three best friends. Man, I missed them. I got too much blood in my alcohol system. Jack, Jim, and Bullet, yeah, they're to blame. They're my three best friends. Man, I missed them. I got too much blood in my alcohol system.